YouTube with Brian Phillips, the Cessna 182. This thing has been out for a few months now. It's gonna be our second thoughts. FMS put this out a while ago, and the thing is absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna fly today on 2200 4S, give you guys a second look at it. We have ours marked for 2200 or 3200 4S. Either one would be fine. This thing is totally 3D capable. It's absolutely gorgeous. The only thing I don't like about it is the flashing nav lights on the wingtips. They can be switched. All you have to do is switch over a JST connector on a board, but I'm too lazy to take my board out and do it. So without further ado, 5-minute timer set, takeoff flaps deployed. Oh, and then do we have? Yes, we do. Thrust reverse. Very nice. All right, here we go. About 30% throttle, dragging this out, making it look like a real one. Beautiful. We're just gonna gain a little teeny bit altitude here. So we take this nice sharp turn. We'll come right back down the pike. Guys, I didn't even exceed 50% on the throttle for this whole flight so far. Show them the sticks. You guys see this? I haven't gone past 50% that whole flight so far. And yes, we did set ours up with safe. So very easy to fly. Of course, we're not using safe. We're using AS3X right now. That's landing flaps on the way downhill, back into the takeoff flaps. A lot of slip here on this turn. About 60% on the throttle now, getting a little bit more aggressive. And out of the flaps altogether, we're gonna go a little bit more speedy. Taking it up and over. And then down the runway. Absolutely gorgeous. Guys, what a beautiful plane. If you're even thinking about the Aero's offering, I don't know why you would, because this thing is a few bucks more and it is $1 million better. So we did review the Aero's offering, and while it is an all right looking plane, definitely flies good, it's a terrible build, and I would highly recommend getting this Cessna 182 in the 1.5 meter full landing flaps here. It is a fantastic flying experience. Right overhead. We're gonna do some really close stuff here. Right overhead again. If you guys are wondering how we do some of these close passes, I like to do coordinated turns. So I like to move my sticks the same direction. And then once I establish the turn, take off flaps now, I will basically uncoordinate to extend, make the circle bigger. Like right now, I've got that reverse. It's almost like I'm going into a knife edge. So I'll bring it around, sticks go the same direction till I get to the position I want, and then the sticks go opposite directions. See this? Like knife edge, knife edge, knife edge. Just a little bit of throttle to balance it out to keep it going the direction we want. And the idea is, because we're always filming, I'm always trying to keep it so that we have a backdrop, and then you guys get to see what the plane looks like and not what the sky looks like. And it's really easy to do when you have a very good plane. If you guys could see that, I was really dangerously close to a stall there. Takeoff flaps now. This plane loves flying around with takeoff flaps, landing flaps. And the camera crew was for some reason was quite nervous about that. I was trying to bring it straight to our feet. The thrust reverse is wonderful, guys. You don't need a long runway for this. We're on a 47-foot wide approach here. It's about 47 feet wide, maybe a little bit wider. It's 37 feet wide by 47 feet out. Okay, so I'm gonna take off here. Absolutely no problem using up all of the runway. That was about 70% throttle there. And then we're gonna land in about the same distance. That's about a basketball court. Okay, so full landing flaps, a little bit of slip on the way downhill. And on the first try, we'll stop it. So guys, that wasn't even a good rendition, but just to be clear, if you've got a basketball court you'd like to fly from, throw a remote ID module in here and you can fly legally, you know, at your local schoolyard. So it's not really that hard to get this thing off the ground. I'm gonna get off the ground before I leave the approach. which of course I'm qualifying that little turn as part of the approach, but I probably shouldn't. So this thing is very much STOL capable. It flies better or equal to at least every other Cessna 182 I've ever flown. And I find that Cessna 182s almost always kind of feel the same in the air, which is very strange. It's unlike other planes. I love the way that they fly, but they definitely fly. They fly the same way. And that's why I like this plane so much. It does not fly like a PA-18. It does not fly like a Carbon Cub SS. It does not fly like other general aviation planes that we've flown in the past. Like a Cessna 150T, it does feel similar, but it's not the same. And that's really weird. Little slip here, slip, 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 slip. Little kiss of throttle.
Do you mean regardless of size? The 182s all fly?
They all feel about
the
the same. That's kind of what I'm getting at, yeah. Full landing flaps here. Okay, so going real low. See if we can take a, ooh. That was a terrible landing, and I was trying to make a decision at the last second, and I had failure to launch there. So takeoff flaps. Thing I love about thrust reverse is I can just reset like this. It takes almost no time. Very easy. And we'll just go ahead and drag it out, make it look good. There it is. Coordinate that turn, set the pace, use the elevator to continue the turn or reject the turn, avoid the tree there that you guys can barely see. But as I go over, I'll call it out right over the top of this little tree that's growing out of our junk pile, right there. There is a rather huge branch coming out of it now. And I'll go over it again, right there. That thing is gonna get a plane if I don't go cut it down. I probably should.
It is.
Because it is right there.
It's gotten really big this year.
I know, it's huge. Okay, so here we go. So we'll slip, 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 slip. And that's why I like reverse thrust, guys. You can just stop on a dime. Of course, it looks kind of ridiculous. And that time I made it look extra bad. But it's a really nice feature to have. It's definitely gonna make easier flying of tighter spaces. And as you guys know, it is straight up a tight place here that we fly in. 275 feet runway is still relatively short, okay? And I just love being able to do that because then I am totally comfortable flying here. Now, I don't have nearly as good a performance from other Predator ESCs in terms of reliable thrust reverse. And so we sometimes warn people, hey, don't plan on it working. But if you're making short field landings, you do kind of need to plan on it. Full landing flaps here. Slip, 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 slip. And manned aircraft.
Way to the...
Stop it. Where is it? Oh, it's right there, way up there.
Yeah, way up there.
So, as you can see, this plane is very good. Not only is it good in the air, but it's good on the ground. It looks good. It ground handles phenomenally. The thing comes in a dinky box because the tail comes off. The wings are supposedly quick release. I wouldn't call them quick release, not unless you put some white lithium grease in the clamp mechanism, the little button mechanism that's underneath the wing, because they are a little bit sticky in my opinion, in that you can't just basically undo them the way that you would expect you could undo them. And I might just add that we are about 3 minutes 37 over our timer. I'm gonna take off right here. That means that we are about 8.5 minutes into the flight, minus the downtime on the ground. Man, that looks absolutely fantastic
Sure
up against
does.
those trees. Got that haze. This morning, there was steam coming off the pond, and it was like, oh my goodness, it was so glorious. I wanted so badly to go fly through it because it would have looked just amazing. Now, you guys are probably wondering, hey, why don't you have floats on this plane yet? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. because I love this plane with wheels. This is probably gonna be one of those planes where I'm just gonna insist on having 2 of them, one with wheels and one with floats, because I wanna be able to fly these planes the way that I wanna fly them and not just be married to floats, because I'm not switching them on and off. That's a huge waste of time.
We could get the red one with floats.
Oh, that's a great.
Because this one comes in the red too.
Yes, it does.
Right?
And the red looks glorious.
Yeah, it does.
And I was slowing it down different that time. Now, I just want to show you something, guys. Something we don't ever film. Look at this. This is a second thoughts. Do you see the sweat bee here? This is one of the worst parts when we're filming. And you guys have this when you're doing your thing too. This little sweat bee is totally eating the sweat or whatever it's doing on my arm. You want to talk about a distracting thing, okay? I want to whack him and murder him right now, but the thing is, he's really not bothering me right now. So it's kind of like, I don't know if they actually sting. Do they sting?
I think they will if you...
Ah! Well, anyway, get out of here.
Yes.
I guess the whole point is it's really distracting, and yet this plane flies so dang good that it's actually not that big a deal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off again, because that's what we do best on Brian Phillips RC, is overfly our batteries. And so one of the only drawbacks to this setup is, even though I set it up with safe, here's safe, okay? So auto leveling. So when I let go of the sticks, it just automatically levels the plane, so it's gonna basically help recover whenever I let go. Okay, so now out of safe, I'm in AS3X, full landing flaps here. Slowing it down as we come back to Mother Earth. The biggest thing is, it doesn't seem to chew through batteries very quick either. Coming out of a slip like that and just having a very, very short landing, I just love it. Short landing, short takeoff run outs there. It's one of my favorite things to do, guys. Some of you like 3D. Some of you like super scale flying. Some of you like shooting takeoffs and landings. And then sometimes you make them look really bad like that. But the key is, you'll notice this plane has not damaged the landing gear at all. And I've had some pretty crappy landings just even in this flight. Pull landing flaps here. We're gonna bring it on the inside here. Curious if I can land it on the 37-foot wide approach. Yes, I can. And that is pretty stinking good, guys. And that was a good landing too. It didn't look ugly. So we are at about 7 minutes and 17 past our 5-minute timer. So my guess is I'm probably gonna run out of juice, but I'm gonna go ahead and take off one more time. It's gonna be this way. Why do you think I suspect we're gonna run out of juice, Cam Crew?
I don't know why.
Because we're way over our timer.
Well, but that's how you fly.
You like how it just drops altitude
Yeah.
and just plops right in front of us? I love it.
This isn't like the plane that we flew in a few months ago, right? No, that one had retracts.
No, we flew in a Cessna 210.
That's right.
This is a Cessna 182.
182.
So a Cessna 210 is called a Centurion, and it has retracts.
Yeah, that's right.
Very long, weird looking retracts. And it's one of the only, I think it's one of the only Cessnas that has retracts.
That was cool though.
It was super cool. Nice greasy landing, no reverse thrust this time.
That does roll out a long ways.
Well, you can slow it down more before you touch down too. And I wasn't even prepared for thrust reverse then. So now you guys are probably wondering, how do you know when you're gonna die on your battery? Well, I don't even have telemetry on this system. I just feel the plane during takeoff. And so what I do is I've learned that these smart batteries will self-recover. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fly until I feel absent power. And then I get out of the throttle immediately and go into the actual efficiency mode, not the just being a smart aleck efficiency mode. And the other thing is thrust reverse will also give you a telltale sign that you're about to run out of power, okay? So now we're about 9 minutes over our timer, which was 5 minutes. A little bit of ground time, admittedly. But I just want you guys to understand something. I love flying planes, and I love this plane. I really, really love it. So the thing is, for me to stretch out the timer this long is incredible. Now also, if I'm flying with my takeoff flaps, I don't need to be into the throttle quite as hard, but if I were to lose power right now, it'd be a very unfortunate. Here, not so bad, but right over the top of the runway, that'd be about the worst place. And I just feel like it's got a little bit more in it. So I think I could probably adjust my timer, don't you think, since we have 5 minutes and now we're about 10 minutes over it?
Yeah, up to at least 10 probably.
And remember, this is a 2200, 4S, 30C, woo, woo! And we've done thrust reverse on almost every landing, all but one. And so that means we are using up a lot of power during that sequence. Now, no flaps. Let's do a no flap takeoff. Just a little bit of roll, takeoff flaps now. Landing flaps now. Getting a little spongy on the juice. I wonder if we're getting out. I wonder if we're about out. I wonder if we're about out.
Yeah.
I can't tell. I think I'm gonna just take off. Gotta be getting close. Still not dead. We'll just slide over.
Okay.
So folks, if you want to help support Brian Phillips RC and the things that we do for the RC community with our little reviews and radio setup videos and things like that, back to forward thrust, make it look super smooth like a real plane, then all you have to do is look no further than the links in the video description below. It's one of the best ways you can support Brian Phillips RC. And the best thing about it is you end up with a plane, a helicopter, a VTOL, whatever it happens to be that you're buying to support us. Remember, you're just buying it from the manufacturer and you're just telling them that we sent you there. So if we help close the deal for you, just click the link in the video description below, and then you help to fund our channel and the things that we do on it. Okay, I feel like this is a really good example of a general aviation plane that you can come home, stressful day, de-stress, declutter your brain, and just enjoy the hobby, okay? Now, for a lot of you, that's not what you like to do when you fly RC. And I fully understand and appreciate that, okay? But for me, this is where it's at. I love the Carbon Z Cub. It's one of my favorite planes. I love the Carbon Z Cessna 150T. It's one of my favorite planes. I have flown the Carbon Z 150 before it was a T, and that was a friend of mine's on floats at Joe Nall. So thanks, Brad, for letting me fly that. That was super fun. And I definitely can say this plane would be delicious on floats. It's got plenty of power to get you out of the water. And if you haven't ever flown on floats, you do need a little extra power to do it. But they also fly really good. Most of these planes are really just, it's almost like you have auto leveling all the time because they're heavier on the bottom. Also, braking surface tension. Sometimes you forget how much that can mean. The other thing is we have tons of yaw authority, but really good flat control. Okay, some of these planes, when you give yaw, it likes to roll. This thing, you can yaw it and totally flat, which is great for float flying, okay? Also, I think of, what's the other one I'm thinking of? The Cherokee.
Yes.
The Cherokee, which is a PA something. I forget what number it is, like a PA 15 or something like that. So anyway, the Cherokee does not fly like this. It flies like a general aviation plane, but it flies more like a hybrid between this and like a Warbird because it's a low wing. And so I really enjoy the way it flies. It's still got a really high profile on the wing. And so of course you're getting a lot of drag and a lot of lift. So you can fly slow and you can do it really easy. So it is just the exact type of flight experience I want. And the type of flight experience I want is what you just watched.
Yep.
Shooting takeoffs, landings, flying around objects that shouldn't be in your flying zone, okay? And just really enjoying a beautiful night, a beautiful sunset. It hasn't quite got here yet. Looks like it's gonna maybe rain. But either way, I just love it. And the other thing is, we love being able to fly this stuff around the water, even if we're not flying in the water. And so we were thinking we might throw one more pack in, not push the limits, because we got basically 15 minutes out of this. So we're gonna do a little bit more conservative flight this time, but we're gonna do it on and around the pond, okay? So stay tuned, one more flight. All right, so this is the type of battery we use, but not the battery we use. The battery we use is still in it. I've reset my timer. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually change my timer because we fly this on 2200 or 3200. So there's really no reason to have that set to 5 minutes. We have proven that 5 minutes is ridiculously low. since we went what, like 12 would be totally safe, right?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll run with that. We'll respect the timer a little bit better. And this flight will be flying over water, so we want to be a little bit more careful and cognizant of things. So the battery loading and unloading on this plane is very, very easy, even though you might whack your pilot in the face with your ding doohickey. So here we go. So let's plug this in and show you how bad we actually used up the battery. Yeah, 6% left, so 3.5. That is pretty phenomenal given the fact that we went way, way over the flight time. Here, I'm just gonna give that to the camera crew.
Thank you.
Put that right where, that was perfect placement. Okay, so we're gonna just slide this in here. You can see the shelf liner we added. If you guys are ever curious how to set up one of these planes and you're seeing the second thoughts, that's what you're watching right now, and you wanna see how we set up the receiver and did all the different setup in the transmitter, all you have to do is check out the playlist for any given plane. So there's a couple of different ways to find the playlist. At the end of this video, there'll be an end screen, throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, timer is cleared, okay? You can look there and there'll be a link to the playlist for the given plane, or you can go to brianphillipsrc.com, which is also available from bprc.me if you don't like spelling long words like Brian Phillips. And it's the same thing. You can sort by type, affiliate that we worked with, hobby shop, whatever it is, and then that will help you to put this up against the Cherokee, for instance, or maybe the Carbon Z Cub, or the Carbon Z T28, which I love again. Or you can put this up against a really competitive offering, the PA-18. I believe it's considerably cheaper plane, but amazing experience in the 1.7 meter size. Also, the Ranger 1800 flies very different from this, modeled after the Cessna 150, I believe, but not branded, okay? This one's a branded offering, so it's gonna look a little bit more like the full-scale counterpart. But it still comes with LEDs and it's still a great flying experience. Powerful, spring-loaded nose gear. I mean, it's not second to none because it's close to this. But it is bigger too. So remember, 1.7 is considerably bigger than 1.5. And this 1.5 feels big, guys, but it also does come apart if you have to transport it and you can't fit it in your car as it is, okay? So a lot of really positive things to report about this plane. So without further ado, we're gonna take off and we're gonna fly down by the pond just for extra fun because we wanna do it, and that's what we do on this channel is we do the things we wanna do, especially on second thoughts. It's more my experience with the planes. Keep in mind, guys, when we do these videos, we're flying for the first time, sometimes under duress because we have a tight deadline we're trying to meet. And if I remember right, this one was in a pretty tight timeline. I can't remember, but I love flying them. We still get it done, but okay, so camera crew, how are we gonna do this? You ready?
Yeah.
Let's just go over here. Now, the other thing too is if you guys ever set up safe, this is kind of a cool way you can do it. You can turn safe on. And I remember once I had a carbon, or excuse me, not a Carbon Cub. It was a Conchendo, and I set up a safe button where I could turn it on and it would just go into a holding pattern. It was super fun, beautiful setup, worked really nice. And the reason I did that was because then whenever I needed to like yell at the kids or pick something up off the ground or whatever it happens to be, I would just do it. Now landing flaps. Getting some gorgeous passes with those beautiful trees. Hope it's not the last time.
I'm gonna head to the little dock.
Yeah, why don't you go to the little dock. Now I'm going way out there, camera crew, right over the full scale strip.
Yep.
So, and the other thing that's really, really, really nice about safe is when you do things like this, where you're trans-navigating a large open field or whatever, you can actually take some time and you can resituate your human body, which is pretty cool stuff. The camera crew is usually doing a very good job of trying to navigate around. Okay, so full landing flaps here. We can't wait to be filming on the damn runway, which I just went over. But we're not there just quite yet. We're gonna try to get some low passes right over the top of the water. You can see the barn swallows are out here like crazy right now in droves. That would be because of the millions of bugs that they are feasting on. So get to it, guys. Now take off flaps. Now the other thing too is some of you ask, well actually a lot of you ask all the time, how do you get your depth perception to work? Practice. Okay, slowing it down here. Oh man, that looks so good.
That's really cool.
I'm gonna go up around these trees. If you guys didn't know this, we moved these trees. I went over some chairs, but these trees that you see here that I'm just going around right now are actually, they came out of the grove that we had to take out to accomplish this pond. Right overhead. I'm gonna go to the right after I pass us. And so this tree line was part of this, more or less ephemeral stream, okay? So coming in between you, rock, and the drains, okay? So the other thing too, you guys may not be aware, but when you film a lot of RC flying, and you have to get in close, one of the best things you can do to improve your odds of success and minimize your odds of injury and crashes is to communicate what your plans are. Doesn't always work. Okay, guys. So here we go. So flaps are off. We're gonna try to fly the plane to the shore. I was thinking this is about to happen. Oh man, so do I get a boat and go salvage it or just try to reverse thrust it?
Well, can you reverse thrust
Reverse thrust. There's reverse thrust.
Be nice if we didn't have to get a boat. But
It looks like it reset, hon, because the lights went off.
shoot. Okay, well, you're gonna have to get a boat then.
Okay, so time for a boat. Guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we're always pushing the limits for you. And as you can see, my beautiful,
It's not gonna sink, is it?
oh, it will eventually.
Okay.
But I think we've got a little bit of time to go before it sinks. It's got some vent holes, but it's like neutrally buoyant, I think. So I guess what we're gonna do is we're gonna like,
Getting.
are we gonna get a like a stick or are we just gonna get a boat?
The canoe would be the fastest.
You think it'd be faster than untying this?
Yeah,
Really?
probably.
Nah,
Okay.
no way. I don't think so. I think I'm gonna get the pedal boat. So I guess this is just feast your eyes on my sinking plane, guys. We're gonna pull the cover off of here. And I don't know exactly how fast this is gonna work, but our objective, of course, is to get this thing before it sinks. Honey, are you going to film? Are you gonna film the entire transaction, or are we just gonna pick back up after I get this started?
Well, you could probably go out and get it and we'll pick back up.
Well, we'll come back and show you because it'll be fun.
Well, of course.
We got a small list on the boat, and you'll notice my lights came back on. I think I probably overloaded the ESC when I hit the water, but I swear I saw something pop off when I hit the water. And I'm just kind of hoping that the battery is actually out of the water right now. Oh, you should wave so they come save us.
Yeah.
So I didn't break the prop.
Okay, well, that's good.
I don't know if I just like whacked the water and it shot up. I can't believe how good this thing is doing. It's just chilling here. It's just like, hey, look at me, floating. That is so amazing. Yeah, you can come hang out with me, plane. I'll let you come in here. So guys, there you have it. The plane survived. I'm gonna make my way back to the shore. Camera crew,
Okay.
you wanna film me doing this, or what do you think?
We'll just meet you back at the dock.
You're gonna meet me at the dock?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Okay, so we're out of the water. I did get a wet butt because this thing puked a bunch of water out. And I don't think we have any technical problem. I swear I saw something white pop off of it, but I don't think anything did. So we're gonna go up front and see if we can dry it off and keep flying. So it just booted. I laid it down and I heard it boot. Okay?
Okay.
So we are now 22 seconds left on our 12. That was pretty dang fast for water recovery. Throttle up, throttle down. So I'm not seeing any start. So I have throttle hold on. Trying to clean off the motor. So I don't know if the voltage is maybe low or it's being perceived to be low. I'm gonna just reboot it. We'll wait for that. I bet the motor is probably wet. That's why it's quiet.
Oh.
You hear that noise now?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see if I can get it to spin. So it perceives a low voltage. So we're going to switch batteries. We'll come right back. Ready? So you guys see? 3.89 volts. So it shouldn't be low enough to matter, but I'm guessing what's happened is that the feedback from the motor has got it all confused because it got wet. And if you've ever flown a float plane, sometimes the water will splash up in there and it'll do the same thing. So I think we're actually okay. I just want to fly it to dry it off. And also that'd be an awesome testament to a quality airplane that you can land in the water without floats. Okay, we're gonna switch batteries. All right, so 100C pack. We're gonna just try it. I don't know for sure if this is gonna work, but it's worth a shot. Just because I really want to get it in the air and dry it off while it's still, you know, whatever. I wonder if the ESC is still wet. It's got to be drawing the voltage down, or it's got some sort of a complaint about the way the motor is set up because the moisture. Throttle cuts off, all the way up, all the way down, throttle cuts on. You guys hear that difference in noise?
Mm-hmm.
Throttle cuts on. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm just spinning it. So that's gonna knock the water out of those motor, in the motor. All right, so I'm gonna try one more thing and we'll come right back. Ended these 4 screws. We're just gonna access this panel, okay? Yes, she's still plugged in and she's still alive, okay? Well, you can see it's not really, I would say there's nothing really too crazy.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so while we're in here, let's look at these little flashing lights. Because the Predator ESC, you see that water there? So check this out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just blow it out with the compressed air. I've got the compressed air here, no big deal. Oh! We're just gonna blow it out. I'm just thinking once I get it to stop beeping, then I can just spin it up. So the next thing I want to try while we're waiting for that to stop beeping is I want to flip these lights. So there's LEDs that are flashing. Show the people. Mm-hmm. The red ones. I don't have a problem with the back one flashing. But you can see right here, we have a little flight controller. This is actually a little sequencer flasher thing. And when we unplug this, what came off?
The red over here is off.
Okay. And when we unplug this, what happened?
Is your green one
green's off.
Okay.
Yep. So then all we have to do is just steal power from pretty much any port. I believe we should be able to do any of these because we're just running off of the BEC voltage. And so if you line up your red wire and your brown wire, should come on. Yep, we got a green light on. It's solid. And then we'll just take this little brown one, brown and red one, and we'll do the same thing. Just make sure you hit your polarity right. Super easy. Did that one turn on?
Nope,
Nope,
not yet.
I missed my pin. Dang it. You guys see what I'm doing here? Just kind of a tight squeeze for my hand. If I had my forceps, it'd be easy. Now remember, we're not actually concerning ourselves with a signal wire. So we're really just,
There you
yep,
go,
there it
red
is.
solid.
Hey, it's on solid. So now that's all taken care of. So really the only thing left is, why is it doing the incessant beeping? It's probably because there's a little bit of moisture trapped in the motor, but we might have already cleared it. So we're gonna try again. Yep, it's going back to that low voltage warning, and that's so sweet. So now we have a strobe up top.
Yeah, that's cool.
But look, that tail is both of them, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep, dang.
Yep, that's both.
So unfortunately, it's gonna be a strobe on the back. That one's not such a big deal.
Or if you have another port, you could do all solid on, right?
Say again?
If you had another port to
Oh,
plug
yeah,
that one
you
in,
could actually do all
on.
solid on.
Yeah.
Because I like that flashing light up
I know,
there.
the red is
Because
fine.
that could be easily confused with the nav light. So I like the anti-crash or anti-collision beacons to be as such, okay? So I'm not sure if we can just spin the motor to get the junk out of it. I'm certain it's just moisture. And once that's cleared, we're gonna be golden. And quite literally cleared for takeoff. But now that we crashed into the waterway, oh, I thought it stopped. Now you can switch your lights and make it right. So super easy, and I did see John on Two Brothers. He was the first person I saw to do it. I probably would have figured it out, to be honest, but I want to give credit where credit's due. I watched him do it on his videos, so anyway, I should give him a shout out. But it was super easy, and you should be able to go to any of the BEC powered ports. So if you had a Y cable or whatever, you could do that too. But I'm just wondering if there was another way I could like reset this
that
ESC.
little servo that's unplugged. Those two are supposed to be unplugged, right? That didn't get that didn't get janked out when you crashed.
Well, I guess it's not impossible.
What are those?
No, those come off of here. Those are
Okay.
for other accessories.
Okay.
So I don't think we have any short circuit there. And I don't think we're getting any sort of short circuit altogether. That's what's so weird about it. I don't think our electronic speed controller screwed up. So I'm gonna try one other thing. Why don't you step back and throttle cut is off. I'm gonna try spinning it up. And of course it's not going anywhere. So throttle cut's back on. I'm gonna do something different, okay? I'm gonna leave it unplugged, throttle cut's off, throttle stick is all the way up. Okay, now listen, I'm waiting for that to go into programming, and it's probably not going to. See it armed, okay? So what that tells me is we might be in less than a 0 position on throttle, which would be not so good, okay? That would speak to something like maybe splashed in the receiver. So I'm gonna try to dry that out again, and we'll see what we get. You can film this part.
Okay.
So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we do stupid things and we film them so you can enjoy watching my suffering.
Is that how that goes?
I don't really think much water got in there. There was just like a little splash right here. I actually cannot believe how well that fared. We're gonna have to watch the footage because I swear there was some white thing that popped off. And I don't know what that white thing was.
It wasn't just the water splashing?
I don't think so. I think it was something.
Do you suppose we just need to let the motor dry out a little bit?
Well, I mean, that would be the smart thing to do.
Oh, that's why
But
we're not
when
doing
did we
that?
start doing that?
Oh, okay, makes sense now.
So obviously the battery's not the problem. I just hope we didn't damage the ESC. I don't think we did.
And if it's arming, it's probably not the receiver, or it wouldn't.
Well, the BEC power's good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the electronic speed controller side of it that runs the motor is good. It could be screwed up, but I really doubt it. The other thing too is, if you think about it, that's one wire and it's obviously getting power back. So we know that the power from the BEC part's going, so we have signal. And we know that the thrust reverse is working because we have that there. I guess the only thing I haven't tried is basically letting it dry
Your
out.
throttle is high, by the way. Okay.
Throttle's down, throttle cuts on. Watch yourself. I'm gonna go thrust reverse now. Okay, I'm not seeing any change in state. And I've definitely got movement on my surfaces. So as you can see, got takeoff flaps, rudders, everything is working. And then even like safe is working. Yep, so all the surfaces are doing their job. You can see safe off. So as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that's not starting is the ESC right now. So we gotta figure out. And then when I spin this, that makes it louder. So that tells me that something in there is not quite right. So we'll figure it out and come right back and share it. Okay, so this is one of the hardest things I have to do in the RC hobby. And this is wait longer. I tried running this with an air compressor just to spin it and see if I could dry things out. But I almost feel like this is braking actively, or at least a little teeny bit of braking, which tells me that the Predator ESC is getting some sort of a signal that it's not supposed to be getting. So I hope I didn't kill the ESC. If I killed the ESC, then I'll have to put a different ESC in here. But for now, I guess we'll pause and come back, or we'll stop and come back if it starts working here later, and then you guys will have an update. Because I love this plane, I want to save it. And to be honest with you, that was still a cool landing. So everybody survived, except for my dignity and pride. So if you guys want to help support Brian Phillips RC and help me get back to where I need to be after that huge embarrassing failure, all you have to do is look no further than the links in the video description below. You can buy one of these beautiful helicopters, planes, VTOLs, whatever it is, transmitter, battery, and all you have to do is get it from the links in the video description below. They'll know we sent you there, and then that's how we fund all these extravagant experiences like digging holes and filling them with water. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys being here with us. And obviously there's a lot right over the horizon. I wish I could tell you all about it, but obviously we only have like a 3 or 4 hour video to do it. So in the meantime, if you want to support us in other ways and you don't want to buy this Cessna 182 because it can crash into water, then check out, we have Patreon, PayPal for one-time donations, YouTube Super Thanks for one-time donations, and YouTube members. So any of those 4 are super appreciated, but the better and best way is to buy an amazing aircraft that you see us review on this channel and really help fulfill your own personal RC desires and help live the dream with us, and not just because I suggested a particular model, okay?
And if you want to fly yours off water, you could just get the floats.
You could also put floats. It's highly recommended. And I think we've established that here today on Brian Phillips RC. So thanks for watching. I know some of you guys are still laughing. It's okay, I get it. Maybe the next time we'll have a serious flight where I don't crash and cause an embarrassing failure. But I don't know, it's me, so whatever. Come back for more. A few moments later. Okay, so I found the problem and I just wanted to show you how I found it and how I fixed it. As you can see, throttle cuts off and the motor now runs. Everything is fine. We already knew outside that everything was working here. So we knew that the BEC was fine, just by sheer virtue that it was starting and that the servos were all working, okay? But what wasn't happening is we were going beep, 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 beep consistently, and it just wouldn't stop, okay? I also couldn't go into programming mode, which I can do now. And here's how I figured it out. So I started by doing my regular diagnostics. I separated the circuit as many times as I could. I ended up separating this motor, which meant I just grabbed just the run-of-the-mill 40 amp ESC, same size class, and I hooked it up and the motor ran fine. So I said, okay, well that's good. I kind of assumed the motor maybe had a little moisture stuck in there, and so it was stopping the ESC feedback, but that's not what was happening in this case. So I took a Q-tip, a trusty Q-tip, and I tried ramming it up here and drying it off with the cover on. I've now cut the heat shrink off, so I'll show you how that looks. So cutting the heat shrink off of an ESC is always a little bit gut-wrenching when you think it might be otherwise good, because you're like, I don't want to ruin it. So I cut it along here, and then I just used a screwdriver to get in here, of course de-energized. And I would start the cut, and then I took scissors and I would follow the cut, because you kind of score it, then you start the cut and you can open it up slowly. And it just opens up like this. And unbeknownst to me, the beep, 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 beep meant input voltage low or high. So after trying a 3S pack and a 2S pack, because I assumed it was probably testing high or testing low, I said, okay, it's got to be something in here. So I knew we were getting BC, so that side of the circuit was good. And I knew I was getting voltage to it because it was initiating everything, okay? So, but what I didn't know is if there was moisture inside of here. So as you can see, I've got it run out here, all just temporarily so that it's easy to work with. So what I'm gonna do is I'll de-energize this now that I can show you guys up close how this looks, because I'm gonna have to run this back through. Mine was yellow to yellow, black to red, and black to red, okay? So I didn't wanna have to tear all this out. And so when I opened it up, the first thing I looked at was here. And I could tell there were little droplets of water on it. So now in here, if you have one droplet of water, you can interfere with these pins on these SMD chips here. And I don't know which chip it is that does the voltage regulation, but it's testing the voltage coming in to validate it before it goes through and fires off, okay? So as soon as I tried it, I got one set of beeps and then it went to normal, okay? So all I have to do now is, obviously I've turned this inside out, and if I would have waited, it would have eventually dried out, but my fear is, and this is crazy, because I mean, I only got a couple of drips in the right spot that caused that to fail, okay? It was a couple of drips. I mean, it was literally like 1 or 2 drips. And you can see kind of this white sort of, that stuff wiping off. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's coming off of there. It's very, very faint, okay? So now all I have to do is basically wrap this back up. But my messaging to you is there's usually something fried, wet, about to be fried, or, you know, a wire disconnected. And if you open this up while it's still relatively fresh, you can get that little bit of moisture off, and then you should be golden, okay? So obviously you could just let this air dry for a little bit and it probably would have been fine too. But the truth is, if I would have let mine air dry, then the sediment in the dirty water or the splashes of water, whether it's clean or dirty, I guess, may have corroded the connectors. So if you know for sure it's bad and you don't want to open it up, I would take that whole ESC out and I would put it in a bath of alcohol. And then I would shake it around vigorously until all the air bubbles stop coming, and then I would take it out of the alcohol and I would let it dry. So if you don't want to cut your heat shrink, you can also just wait longer and see if it comes out of it. My hope was I could warm it up by running it outside to just make everything get displaced. That didn't work out this time. I have been lucky and I've had it happen before. I've also caught them on fire too. So don't do that part. That was one time a long time ago, by the way. Okay, so now all I need to do to make this thing whole again is to just wrap this again. So it's really easy to re-wrap a heat shrink on one of these ESCs. So obviously the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're 100% totally dry. And this is one of those spots where you want to be careful. Where that heat sink goes, all these little triacs under here will actually hold moisture. And so you just got to make sure you're totally 100% dry. Now, I believe we are, because obviously it's working. And then secondly, what I'm going to do is once I get this all reseated, I'm just going to run it for a little bit and just let it run. Make sure we don't have any adverse reactions, okay? Now, the other thing is when you rewrap heat shrink, one thing you have to be aware of is if it gets really, really hot, it's going to shrink this, okay? So what I generally do is I will either use another piece of heat shrink, I'll just throw it over there, but then you run the risk of not dissipating enough heat. And so my experience has been, and what's worked really good for me, is I just quite literally take electrical tape and I go around it. Now, if you're concerned that the electrical tape is gonna be too much, I understand. This is a small ESC, it's not a super demanding application, at least not the way I fly it, except for when I'm flying around water. Then it's kind of demanding.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was a submarine until today. So I'll just take and rip off a little chunk and I will just quite literally hold it shut. And I like to pre-stretch my vinyl type tapes and that'll hold nicely. And then I can just quite literally go around it a couple of times. It's not, if you're concerned about the heat dissipation, which I'm kind of not on this model, use as little as possible to get the job done. Hold that down, wrap it around, okay? Just like that, pre-stretch it, and then let it stick to itself, okay? And if you do that on both ends, you're never gonna have a problem, I promise. It's only gonna look ugly, and it's only gonna look ugly to the people that know you did it. So, if you're really smart, you'll put it on the internet so
Right.
everybody can see your stupid mistake.
All 7 people that are still watching.
Listen, this is a short video for Brian Phillips RC. Are you kidding? There's like people's toilet line isn't even
all
started.
12 people watching.
All 12 of you, okay? So now that that's wrapped around there, remember, the idea is you don't want to put too much compression on here because when and if you heat this up, those solder joints are allowed to short and then poof. And it's not just poof, then it's like fire, okay? So now what I would normally do, and I'll just show you the alternative method where I'm a little bit less careful, is I would just take my electrical tape and I would just like go around it, okay? Which is what I'm gonna do, okay? Not a big deal. You can still take this off if you want, but you'll notice I only did 3 wraps. It's gonna still have the same water resistance that it did before, which is not very good. And I usually like to leave a tail on vinyl tape because it's really hard to find a tail. And God forbid I have to get in there again because I decide to nosedive it into a drink. So now all I'm gonna do is just stuff it back down where it was. And it actually fits even better now because it's got just a little tiny bit more thickness, so it'll just wedge in there. So I put like a couple drips of China glue. China glue like this, okay? This is China glue, FMS China glue. So I just put a little bit on there, let it set up, reland my wires, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Now, FMS also offers a product that we almost never talk about. Well, thank God we didn't have our FMS Predator branded voltage alarm, guys.
There. That
thank God, because this is a one of a kind. You can't get these from anybody else except for FMS.
And
nowhere else. Thank God.
You're using a Gen 2 pack.
So this, well, I was just whatever was in there.
Well, yeah.
This is a 100C pack we brought outside. So they sell this tape, and this is kind of what they use to hold those wires back together. So I'm gonna just show you this process real quick. Normally we show start to finish, but sometimes in the diagnostic efforts, it's really not very easy to show. So I'm gonna actually slide this through to the front. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, so you see I just stick that ESC out the front.
Okay.
And then I sit down and be lazy while my camera crew has to stand the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna stick these back together. You wanna make sure with 100% certitude that you got these dry too, since you're in there. They were pretty well protected, by the way. And so rather than just using electrical tape, which would work totally fine, I'm gonna use the tape that China suggested we use. Now, remember, when China makes a suggestion, we oftentimes ignore it vehemently. But honestly, I love this fiber reinforced tape and I have no problem with it. It's like some of the stickiest stuff you can buy and it's really cheap, okay? So the reason I like this China glue and I like this China tape is because obviously China has figured out a thing or two about copying what works. I mean, designing what works. I mean, well, whatever you think it is. So you see what I did there? Now it's taped. Okay. It's gonna look just like the factory did it. They'll never know that I did this repair, except for, again, I put it on the internet for the world to see. So guys, hopefully this video helped you to understand what not to do, how not to do it, where not to do it, and when not to do it. Which are one of the things that we want to help instill in you is that if you never take a risk in RC, then you're probably not gonna have a lot of mistakes, but you're still gonna have a few here and there. So just, you know, if you're watching this video and you think, you know, I would never do something so stupid, well then you're obviously not an RC enthusiast because people in RC do stupid things all the time. It's like part of the hobby in my opinion. And the longer you've been in it, the stupider things you're willing to try. I could have very well just not crashed, which would have been smarter. And if I would have been going faster, I think I would have skipped along the water because I was trying to drag my gear in the water like a cool guy.
Right.
Obviously, not a good idea, folks. So now that I've got that done, I'll show you the China glue application because the FMS China glue is no joke, really good. I love this stuff. I use it all the time. It's every bit as good.
Do you want to test before you glue, just in case?
No, no.
We're just gonna throw caution to the wind?
No, we've already tested.
Okay.
Listen, when you test things for a living, then you test things right. And you never make mistakes.
Okay, we're still sticking to that plan.
I cannot get this off of me.
Do you need help?
So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a little teeny bit right here, and I'm just gonna smear. It's just gonna be one small smear, okay?
Right.
So one smear is all you need, okay? of China glue, FMS China glue. They don't call it China glue, but they should. Okay? And I am kind of joking. They actually do call it China glue, I think.
Do they?
Yeah. Oh. So now I'm smearing the schmear onto that. And you're probably thinking, Brian, I know how to put glue on. No, you don't, because China glue is different. Okay? First, you have to look at what your competitors do to make the China glue work, and then do that thing. That's how you know it's China glue. So that's exactly where it came out. You'll never know that I switch it out, except for the World Wide Web video entry. And by the way, that's not even right. Now that I'm done with setting the glue on there, I'm gonna let this sit for like 2 minutes. And by the time I'm done cleaning up some other crap, it's gonna be set up and it will stick in there. Now, because I'm not in a big hurry and it's not gonna be like some big deal where it's gonna be like, you know, shifting around tonight because it's dark, then I could probably just sit it in there and it'll cure and everything will be fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'll button this up and come right back. All right, so the China glue is set up for just a minute or two. So it's kind of tacky, but it's not like runny, okay? Then when I slide this under, it's gonna hold it in. See, it's like even, it's hard to slide in now. I waited too long. See what I'm talking about, guys? Good Lord, that is really hard to get in there. Okay, so now that it's in there, this wire will protrude from the cover perfectly. And that's the next thing we have to do is just slide this all back in, which we're gonna do. And basically I wanna put this in and then I'm gonna show you a quick test before we actually put the prop back on, make sure everything is kosher. Because like I said earlier, if you test it right, then you don't need to test it again. Just like I said, right, camera crew?
Right, so we're just gonna test it.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Got it.
See, you can't take yes for an answer, even when I agree. So these screws have turned out to actually be pretty easy to use because it just always lines up. I thought these were gonna be the biggest pain in the butt, but they've actually not been too bad because you only get about 4 or 5 turns on each of them. I would rather have just like a thumb nut or something, but to be honest, I love how easy it is to load the battery in this plane.
Well, and it's super clean looking then too.
Yeah, especially when the water gets in there.
Right.
Okay, throttle cuts on. Real quick test. Throttle cut. Okay, throttle cuts off. Thrust reverse. Forward thrust. Reverse thrust. Okay, throttle cuts on. Forward thrust. Now, in a minute, I'll have this all put back together and show you exactly what it looks like. Part of the reason we show you this process is because we understand it would be easy to just write off, oh yeah, I just fixed the ESC. No, I actually went in and took apart the ESC and found what was wrong. And then I fixed it. And that's part of the hobby, is learning how to do that. Like, feel this, there's a little teeny bit of moisture right there. Oh, see this vent? So obviously, if you're gonna land in the water, like Megan suggested, or the camera crew, sorry, I almost broke the cardinal rule there.
Now they know.
Yeah, I know. Well, you already knew, because I say it all the time, but here's the thing, guys. We do this to help teach people, and you know, we don't really gain anything by being embarrassed constantly.
Not really, no.
But we do if you guys are. And so if this helps you a little bit, smash the like button, because at the end of the day, you know, it's a lot easier for people that do YouTube influencing or whatever you want to call it is what we do, to just clip all this out. It's easier to just throw away the footage and just come back on a better day and do it again. But we feel like there's a lot of value that can be gained from watching somebody make a mistake, okay? Now that, make no mistake, that was a mistake, okay? I didn't mean to crash out there in the water. That would have been the biggest, most foolish, stupid thing to do on purpose ever. But it was still kind of fun to watch. So I hope you guys got a little value out of the fun factor and also a little bit of value out of the diagnostic factor. Because at the end of the day, everybody is going to be flying. Every once in a while, you're going to have some mistakes. Not everybody is going to make mistakes, but most people are going to make mistakes. And they're going to do them on a relatively ordinary basis, okay? So we can all glean a little bit from my mistake today, and I can take one for the team, okay? Just like when I broke this in the unbox. See how it's cracked? I rebuilt that there. Haven't had a single problem with it since, which is amazing. And I was so scared I wasn't gonna be able to pop that off, so let's hope it goes on there properly. Oh man, it makes me nervous, hon. Did you say a prayer? Oh boy, okay. By the way, beautiful spinner, beautiful apparatus, beautiful setup. Throttle cuts on. Now that this is tested, I can now trust it again. So we're just gonna drop this down. Also today we helped teach you how to put the lights to a solid condition. And thanks, John, from Two Brothers, for bringing that up in your video. I wanna give credit where credit's due. I would have figured it out eventually, but I do appreciate you showing that in your video because I did see it in your video. All right, so elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, yaw left, yaw right, steerable's working. Okay, throttle cuts currently on. I'm gonna turn it off. Forward thrust, as you can see, we got a lot of forward thrust. That's full throttle. Now reverse thrust, gotta make sure I have a place to hold. Oh yeah, it's working. Yep. Okay, very good. Now throttle cuts on, forward thrust is back initiated. So all of the functions of this model are working. Now we have nav lights that are not schizophrenic and flashing, which is kind of a stupid feature if you ask me. As long as these are solid, I don't really mind. And to be honest with you, I think I might be just a little teeny tiny bit brighter, so I hope I don't burn them out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about that because I hope that there's not a current limiting resistor that's bringing that voltage from like 5 down to 3.6 or 3.5. But truth is, they haven't burned out yet. They're probably not going to burn out. And it was running for some time off camera, guys. So that's really good news. So at the end of the day, we all make stupid mistakes. Sometimes they're more fun than others to watch. And so we hope this one was fun to watch. And also you picked up a little bit here and there. So what we do on Brian Phillips RC is we try to help get people out of the chair and into the air. And a big part of that is having the confidence to understand that you're not gonna have to go buy a replacement part every single time something goes slightly wrong, because most people aren't gonna do that, okay? They don't wanna spend that kind of money, and they don't wanna wait for the shipping, and they're impatient just like me. Yep. So the best way to learn is by doing, and the best way to do is by watching me screw it up first. So then you can learn from the mistakes I make, okay? Or at least that's one of the ways. That or you know, somebody at the field that makes a lot of mistakes, you can learn from them too. Just remember, you pick somebody that has gotten better over time and not somebody who's getting worse or staying the same all the time. I would like to think that over the last 10 years, I've gotten to be a lot better pilot. I've gotten a lot faster and more capable at fixing things. And so that's the type of person you want to follow, okay? If you're following somebody that's just making the same mistakes over and over again, then that's pretty dumb. I make a lot of the same mistakes because I push the limits in tight environments, okay? So you're gonna tend to have a little bit more mistakes in that regard. But what happened today with the water, no big deal, it's pilot error. But what happened with the electronics was sort of weird. There shouldn't have been water in that heat, in you know, that ESC, I don't think. I just got lucky it splashed in just the right way. I couldn't believe this thing sat in the water like no problem at all. That was so cool. So I can't wait to watch the footage of it. It's one of the best things about filming yourself fly all the time is you get to watch your mistakes over and over again. So like I said, at the end of the day, if you're just getting back to the hobby, this is Brian Phillips RC, and we're gonna help you get from where you are to where you wanna be. If you're brand new to the hobby, we're gonna do exactly the same thing. We're gonna help get you from, you know, 0 to 60 as fast as possible because we want you guys flying right now. Remember, you're not guaranteed tomorrow, okay? You might have a health change, you might have a financial outlook change, you might have a physical location change where you don't have access to the same flying field. You might have a familial change. You might have a workload change. So don't wait until next year or 6 months from now to get started because you're just gonna be 6 months or a year behind. Start flying today and do it often and early as quick as you can. If you can't be flying, you absolutely can't be flying right now because your lifestyle doesn't provide for that access right now. One suggestion is, get as small and as cheap of a sub 250 plane so you can be fully legal. You can fly it in your backyard and do something like that and just fly a lot every chance you get and then fly a simulator in its absence, okay? It's gonna help give you the muscle memory so that you can get where you wanna go in the future. And another trick, this is something that works really good, and this is a real recent review we did on this Bell 206, which by the way, I'm just in love with this Bell 206. It's so cool. It's a super easy to fly heli. And this thing is not expensive. It's like less than 80 bucks, I believe, shipped. And that's like a worldwide shipping thing from my understanding. Now, I'm not in other countries, so I can't verify the shipping costs and things, but this will give you really similar controls to fly in a plane. The only difference is, of course, this is going to automatically level like you have safe on all the time, but it's still going to teach your brain the way you move sticks. I had my throttle cut on, so you know it's going to pull back towards you, go away from you. It's going to roll left, roll right, and then it's going to yaw. It's going to yaw. So it's just like a plane. The only difference is this little sucker, you can fly in your living room when it's like a blizzard outside. You can also get little planes nowadays that are very small, like 10, 15 grams. And I will fly them around this living room, but they're quite hard, okay? So that's why I suggest something like this. And plus this thing is, it looks like it's delicate and really easy to break, but my guess is this thing won't break super easy, even though it's a helicopter and they historically do break quite easy. And you don't have to get the Bell 206. There's so many great ones. And by the way, if you see anything in this room, this brand new product from Horizon Hobby, we don't care who makes it. We don't care where you get it as long as you follow our links, okay? We've got lots of different links for you. We've got different venues you can buy from. We would prefer that you buy from the quality vendors and maybe not the ones that are gonna take longer to ship or give you trouble. And we have heard from people about certain vendors, okay? So we'll try to direct you in the right direction. So that's how you can help return the favor if we did help you out on a video like this, or you're looking forward to getting help in the future when you do have something come up, okay? The way you can help us is smash the like button right now, click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe, and that way you'll be notified when we have new content that comes out about 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes 2 on a slower week, okay? And it has been admittedly kind of a slow summer because there's not been a ton of new releases, okay? Which is why we've been doing a lot more helicopters, because I love the little helicopters, and we've had opportunity to do them. Mm-hmm. So that's great. And also they do really well with the pond. And so we just got the pond done, and I love filming around the pond. You're probably thinking, why didn't you have floats on that thing? Well, good question. So getting back full circle, the other way you can support us if you decide you just can't buy another plane, you can't buy simulator, transmitter, battery, whatever charger you might be needing right now, would be Patreon. That's a monthly support. YouTube membership, which is also monthly support. YouTube super thanks. And then of course PayPal if you just want to go straight for the dollars and cents. That's fine if you do it. Just remember we're friends and family. And we appreciate you doing it that way because otherwise they keep a pretty considerable amount of fees. But it's still like half the fees that YouTube charges. So YouTube keeps 30% of your gifts. So just so you know. I mean, I don't want to stop you from doing it. I just want you guys to be aware because we try to be as transparent as possible. The fee structure is the highest on YouTube. It's like 30%. It's about 18% on Patreon unless you're overseas, and then it's quite a bit higher because it's just overseas tariffs and stuff. And that's part of the reason why we don't have listed benefits on Patreon. Because if you had listed benefits on Patreon, then you guys have to pay a value-added tax, a VAT, if you're overseas outside of the United States in a country that has a VAT, like Canada or in European Union and some other countries. But anyway, we intentionally do that, okay? Even if you would happen to get a benefit or whatever, we just don't list it, okay? We want to be as economical for you guys as we are, you know, scratch my back, we'll scratch your back, we'll keep things amicable. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the easiest way to support us is just buy these planes. The small commissions come to us, and then you know you help support the vendors that we happen to work with. We're not trying to sell this one or that one or that one. It's just whatever you guys are wanting to get at a given time. We're going to try to help put you in front of a video so you can make a good decision. Okay? Because we don't know where you are, and we don't know where you are, and where you are. There was 3 people in the room. We know where you would have started. And we have a good idea of where you could be in a couple of years or 6 months or whatever, but we never really know because our audience is sparse. I mean, they're spread out all over the place. They're not sparse, but our audience is not necessarily always at the same point in their RC experience. Mm-hmm. Just like us, we're always advancing and moving through the ranks. So hopefully we answered all your questions, and hopefully you got a little bit of extra value from my screw up, and it was fun to watch. So we will have so much more of that right around the corner on Brian Phillips RC. And we hope to see you back here. In the meantime, while you're waiting, there are so many different videos right now that are published and ready to watch. Obviously, you can go back and watch the unbox build radio setup of this if you want to see the piece count is super low. Very easy build, probably one of the easiest FMS planes we've ever built. Mm-hmm. I take it back, there was some easier ones, but still, this one was super easy for being big and beautiful.
Yes.
And if I would have known about switching the wires for the solid lights, I would have been very happy because I like those solid nav lights, huge improvement. And you can do that when you get yours out of the box and put it together. So definitely check out the links in the video description below. We'll also link to the battery choices that we suggested, which were 4S 2200. 30C is what we use. You could use a 50C or 100C if you want to do a little bit more 3D flying. And then of course we suggest a 3200 4S, but just keep in mind, you're gonna be getting like probably 16, 17 minutes conservatively on a 3200. By the way, we were at 6% life, remember, on that first flight, 2200 4S. That was, I think we're roughly 16 minutes of flight time, probably. A little bit less, and that's just 2200. So if you go to 3200, you're gonna be pretty conservative on that 16-minute flight time. You're gonna be down to almost nothing, about 3.5 volts. But that's safe on a prop plane. You're gonna have enough to get back to the ground. You're still gonna have a little bit of reverse thrust if you need it. So lots to learn. We're gonna help get you there. Oh, by the way, they're not gonna see this before we go to offset, are they?
No.
Probably not. So guys, if you're brand new to the channel and you have other questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll try our best to get you up to speed as quick as possible. We know that the hobby can be daunting. It seems like there's a lot to learn, because there is. But you don't have to be an expert tomorrow. You just have to know enough to get in the air. And so like this Aero Scout might be another great place for you to start. Super fun. Jason Merkel from Horizon Hobby is in love with this plane. He has like 70 of them. I'm just kidding, he doesn't have 70. But he always takes off and flips it over just like this every time. I've seen him fly many, many times. One of his favorite planes, okay? This plane is a great plane. Why is it a great plane? Why does an ambitious, good, skilled, multi-decade performance flyer fly an Aero Scout? Because it's fun to warm up, even if you've got the skill, guys. I love flying trainers still. And people are like, whatever, you don't. I was like, whatever, I do. I really enjoy the prospect of flying just about anything. And for me, it's all about flying variety. That's why we have 400 of them.
Right.
Seriously, that's what it is for me. So if you have the same painful habit that I do of having 400 planes, I appreciate you. I know your pain. And we're about to build a big building over there.
Tell your wife we're sorry.
That's right. Tell your wife we're sorry. And when you guys see our project coming up, you guys are gonna just drool. It's gonna be super exciting. We can't wait to share it. And should be breaking ground on that in a couple of months if all goes to plan, so that we can have the pad ready for next, which is the dam gift shop. And you guys are gonna love it. It's gonna sit next to the dam runway, which is hopefully gonna be going in next year if all goes to plan. Again, plans change, weather changes, and we gotta work around those big ticket items and budget stuff. So, but we're super excited to share it. And obviously there's gonna be lots of very cool new planes and very solid beginner planes all the way along the way, because we wanna get you guys out of the chair and in the air. Stay tuned, so much more to come from Brian Phillips RC. And we really appreciate you guys being here with us. So thanks again.